Margarita Aguilar. I had a question. I heard you talk about the cannabis, and it was kind of really quick. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, and what are some of the issues that some of the cities you represent have dealt with? And that's pretty much my interest at this moment. Thank you.
So cannabis, right? So we've done most of the cannabis entitlement in the area, but I mean, so let me take it going back. Some of our cities were some of the very first to permit cannabis. And we did a multi-angle approach. The first one with the development agreement to kind of create a contractual relationship for the public benefit amount. We backed that up with a conditional use permit because I don't want to get into a long, drawn-out squabble with folks. That takes me a long time to shut them down. Conditional use permit, you can pull much quicker. So we have that layer of the onion, and then we back it up with a tax that's voted on that gives us the ability to go up to 15%. That kind of backs that down in case the public benefit ever was legally challenged and held to be deficient, so we still would be able to maintain our money. That's kind of the problem that's gone on in Sacramento recently. They didn't have development agreements in that same way and do that. So we kind of set that structure up. Again, most of the cities that are around you, we put in place that structure. But with that comes the burden of making sure that the people who aren't operating legally, that you're taking care of that. So we've had some significant issues throughout Merced and Stanislaus County with illegal grows and grow houses and some of the environmental effects that come from when that happens. So it's just making sure that the code enforcement is up to speed, does it right. We're able to put liens in place to be able to recover the attorney's fees and staff time, and kind of take everybody through that process. But it's about education. It's everything from working with the public to understand that process and what the options are, as well as with the folks who do it. So when we were when we did it for Turlock, we had 45 people who applied for 4 permits. So it was taking that through that kind of RFP process. So there's nothing that we have done that, and again, you take that into the BCC litigation where we've litigated against the Bureau of Cannabis Control to preserve local control. I think the biggest issue is we have places like the city of Newman who don't allow it. We have places like the City of Angels Camp that wants to allow it, but from places outside the area. We have places like Sonora who until recently only wanted to allow medicinal, right? So we all of our solutions are catered to the wills of the council. And it's our job to give you options and set those options before you, give you the pros and cons of each. And it's your guys' job to make the decision, right? Knowing what it is. Again, if we've done our job, it's an educated decision though. And I think that that's where we come in and can be really helpful in terms of making sure that you have full information. Because if you make a decision and it's not based on good information, or if that information turns out to be wrong, then I think that that's where you get to hold your city attorney accountable. So hopefully that helps.
Very briefly, if I could add, I think this is one of the areas, cannabis, that distinguishes us from other folks. We had some people who were in dire need of some financial help, and they said, what can we do on this cannabis? We keep hearing that we have to do a tax and we have to do this. And we said, no, you can do it with the development agreement. Everybody said, no, you can't do it with the development agreement. You're going to be challenged. It's not going to work. Well, it worked, and those cities were able to bring in a couple extra $1 million and keep them afloat.
Thank you. Any further questions from the public?
Good evening, everyone. My question is, there's been questions and confusions around the Brown Act before in our city. Have you had experience around the Brown Act violations, and what steps are you or have you taken to ensure, or will you take to ensure, that the council is following and understands the Brown Act?
So first of all, we do a series of trainings, and we do that at our cost. We never charge for our trainings. We feel like that's kind of our investment back in the city of being kind of a good partner, because most of the places that we've been at for a really, really long time. So we have in-person trainings that we do in Brown Act. We have online trainings that are free that people can do to learn about the Brown Act. And then there's always those one-on-one conversations and relationships that you have to develop with council to make sure that they're doing it right. That being said, we have a responsibility to the public in the role that we serve in to make sure that that the council is doing what they should do. Y'all hire us, but we don't. We would be the city attorney for the city, and that's at the direction of the city manager and the council. But there are other fiduciary duties, and as you know, there's a record, like, it was a certain time where we had to turn in council members to the district attorney because they blatantly, openly were violating the Brown Act, and the district attorney dealt with them appropriately, and that was in Merced County. So it was with Larry Morris, the previous DA. So, you can go talk to some folks in Atwater if you need more information on that question. So Brian can fill you all in.
Any other questions from the public at this time?
Okay, Catherine Shell Rodriguez, wearing my elected city treasurer's hat and watchdog for the people of Livingston. My question is that when you are working on a task, how do you bill? By the quarter hour or similar segments? Second question, do you charge for travel in order to do things like attend city council meetings, and if so, how much? And the last one is, would your firm have any problem giving me a copy of your monthly invoices? I understand you might have to redact some things, but would you have any problem giving me a monthly copy of the invoice that you are billing the city?
So last one's easy. That information is required to be released via the Public Record Act, so we'd have no problem doing it. There was an audit of 10 special districts that was done in the Central Coast. We happen to represent San Miguel Community Service District. Our firm came out the highest and the most responsive when they went and looked at that information. I'd be happy to pass on that gentleman's name so you can go and call him yourself if you want to know about that. So, I mean, some stuff has to be redacted because of for obvious reasons, but we have no problem releasing that level of information. What was the first part? Oh, travel. We don't charge for travel. So unless it's outside the city itself. So if we wind up having to go to court in Fresno or something like that, or Sacramento, then we would charge for travel time there. But to do kind of the city's day-to-day business, then we don't charge for that. We feel like that's represented in our rate that we offered. Is there anything else?
I'll just be down the highway, so I won't be charged.
Billing. So billing, we bill in 6/10 of the hour. So every 6-minute increment, we bill. We do often do, like for instance, when we were working with Turlock, we did personnel rules on a flat. Updated their personnel rules on a flat rate. So I think this is just where having a good relationship with the council and the city manager and the directors kind of matters, because when it's appropriate to go for a flat rate, when it's appropriate to just go by the hour. I would say 95% of the time we're probably by the hour. And I think that's probably how most everybody else is billing. But so it's in 6-minute increments.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So this will be for all the law firms. Might as well make it now. How do you guys handle training or support when there's conflicts of interest? Maybe sometimes the council doesn't know that there's a conflict. I mean, they might reach out to you guys for advice. And do you offer training? Because seems like they don't actually know sometimes.
Yeah. So we offer training on conflict of interest. I think most everybody here probably does. But we do training in addition to things that come up through your ethics and AB 1, 2, 3, 4 training. I happen to, I used to work for the Fair Political Practices Commission some time ago in the legal division. So I wrote some of those opinions. So we do that. I will say, I mean, the reality of it is, as a member of the public, you're probably not going to know whether or not I've talked to one of the council members about that. There'd be some confidentiality and some attorney-client privileges is that. But again, this is where having a really good relationship with your city manager, getting maps of property interest and economic interest that you have, and knowing where you work all come in, so that when we do our agenda review, if we spot something that you don't, that we're calling you. That being said, conflicts of interest tends to be very personal to the individual, and so, again, having a good relationship so that you guys feel comfortable reaching out and feeling like you can get your questions answered on that issue.